Um, Hello, this is Yashasri here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, ma'am, you are audible.
Can I also try sharing my screen?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it visible.
Okay. Great. And am I visible?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay, then I'll wait for you to let me know when I can start. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We will start the session within 4 to 5 minutes.
No problem. Yeah. Thank you.
அந்த மாதிரி போய் தாயத்துல குத்தி வச்சு உட்காந்துக்கு
So let's start the session. So good afternoon everyone present in today's session. On behalf of Smart India Hackathon team, I welcome Ms. Yashashri Barve, Head Agile Initiative Technology, Software and Services Business Group and TCS, and all the candidates to today's online training session. This session has been especially organized to help you understand the today's topic, that is project management and agile practices, which will support you in preparing better for SIH 2025. We are honored to have with us our expert trainer, Ms. Yashashri Barviji, an industry professional with extensive experience in this domain. Thank you, ma'am, for joining and providing training to our candidates. Now, without further delay, I would like to invite our respected trainer, Ms. Yashasri Barviji, to begin the session. Now, over to you, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ashish. And thank you, Smart India Hackathon, for this opportunity. Okay, all right. I'm excited to be here. Team can use the chat, right? If they want to answer any questions that I ask.
Yeah.
Where I can access the chat. Okay, I see it here. Show chat. Okay, great. All right. Sounds good to me. Thank you, everyone. I'll just share my screen. Can you see the screen? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Your
Okay.
screen
All
is
right.
visible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Yeah, I can see that people can respond in chat. So thank you very much. So welcome to management and agile practices. It's a webinar I have specially curated for SIH. Um, thank you for this opportunity. I have also worked as an evaluator for SIH. So some of your ideas probably were evaluated by me. And I also am from TCS. So I also have colleagues who have been mentors for SIH, and they have really had great experience in the actual hackathon that happens for all of, like it is planned, I think, in December for all of you. So thank you once again. And let's get started with today's session. So I understand we have around 2 hours, out of which 90 minutes for the session, and then we have about 30 minutes for Q&A, but I'll try to keep it interactive. If you have any questions in between, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer it. I can see things that have been put on the chat, so I should be able to answer that as well. Okay. So a little bit about me. I work as an agile coach and a transformation consultant at TCS. I'm leading the agile, one of our business groups, which is technology, software, and services business group. Okay. I'm an author. I have authored 2 books that you can see here. One is a technical book, Agile Mindset Magic, and another one is a book of poetry, my mother tongue, which is Marathi. It's called Paus Wari. It is a collection of poem on rain and nature. I also blog. I have my podcast, and I read. I am a trainer, learner. I'm volunteer. I volunteer for the corporate social responsibility programs that we have within TCS. I volunteer for industry um, networks in the agile space and so on. And I love to travel. I'm an arts, music, and nature lover. So feel free to ask any questions as we get started with today's session. Um, But before we get started, I want to understand how many of you are already aware of Agile or things. Maybe it was an elective subject that you had taken, or you had gone through, looked at, just seen what it is and out curiosity and things like that. Do we have anybody who has done? How do I see the chat now? Is there anybody who has chat here? Anybody? It's on the chat. So I'll assume that none of you have much idea about Agile and Scrum, so and project management in general. So I'll assume that nobody knows, and I will probably keep it at basic level. All right. Okay. So what do we have in store for today? So today we are going to talk about a lot of terms, but I'll try to put it into the context of your, because I think that is what you want. You're here to learn about this Agile and project management in the context of your smart, as to how will you be able to potentially, manage your project. It's a small project that you have, right? For software people, it's a 36 hours project. And for hardware people, it is a 5-day project. So trying to understand how you will do the project management. What is Scrum? What are user personas? What is MVP? What is feedback? How to take, when to take feedback? What is sprint planning, retrospectives? What is iterative, incremental, and so on. So some of things I will touch upon while I explain what is agile as well as project management to all of you through this session. Okay. Okay. So when I was thinking about how to conduct this session, I mean, we do a lot of sessions for college students on what is Agile, what is Scrum. We also teach all the freshers that join TCS about what Agile is, what Scrum is, and so on. But however, that is more of a session to introduce the students or the freshers, right? The projects that we do for our customers, the software development that we do for our customers. So that talks about the actual way in which 2 weeks we work delivered in few months or maybe a month. Come up to the hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so when I was trying to put this whole Agile, Scrum, project management, everything into the context of your hackathon, I thought maybe we should divide it into two parts. Okay, one is, what are the things that you have to do before the hackathon? I know there is not much time left. 8th is probably when your hackathon starts, but there are some things from a project management or an agile way of working that you should do before you actually get into the hackathon. And then there are some things that you should do. Divide this session into two parts. Part one is what are the things that you need to do before the hackathon, and what are the things that you need to do during the hackathon, right? All of these things that you see on the screen, Agile, Scrum, all these jargons that you see on the screen, they will all be applicable before as well as during. But what are the things that you have to focus on before you get into the actual hackathon coding, and what are the things that you have to take care during the hackathon coding is what I'm planning to divide my sessions into, right? This session into. Okay, so we will start with what is it that we need to do before the hackathon. So all of you had been given the problem statements, right? There are so many problems that have been put up by the Smart India Hackathon team, and all of you have chosen the problem statement that you want to work upon, have tried to understand, have ideated, and submitted your approach, correct, into the to the hackathon team. And from that, some of the ideas or solutions were selected, and they are now going to go into the second round, which is actually built from whatever has been submitted by your teams, your respective teams, right? So now there are certain things that you need to do before you start getting to the hackathon. So I just want to know if you have, what do you think you need to do before you go to the hackathon place and start coding for your 36 hours? What have you thought so far? Anybody? Just put in the chat, please. What have you thought? What is it that you need to do before you enter the hackathon? What do you think you should do? Of course, you need to learn. So you're learning, like you're learning this, you will also learn more about maybe full stack development. You will learn more about AI, Gen AI. You will learn more about a lot of things, right? Attend the webinars, etc. What else? Ideate and break down the problem statement. Very good, Abhishek. What else? Yeah, exactly. And we are going to good practices into, I wouldn't say best, because we never know, best is maybe yet to come. But yes, we are going to talk about some of the good practices that have worked in several hackathons that we conduct, as well as in the industry and so on. Okay, Abdul, you have to go on mute. Okay, any other answers? So Abhishek has written that you and then break down the problem statement. Any other answers from anybody? Please put it on the chat. No, so okay, make an MVP. That you're using the word MVP already. Yes, make an MVP ready. Well, will you make an MVP ready before you, or you will create an MVP during the hackathon? Maybe potentially you will create the MVP during the hackathon, but yes, you have to at least think about what is it that will go into the MVP before you enter into the hackathon. All right, sounds good. You are on the right track, right? Ideating, breaking down the problem statement, and making the at least the thought about what will be in the MVP ready is something that you will probably do before the hackathon. Okay. Yeah, right. So I want to put this on the table for you to think about. That you should put why before you think of what, and you should put who before you think of how. Okay, so keep it at the back of your mind as we move through this presentation. But as our engineers, a hackathon is a fast-paced event where people collaborate. Somebody has put on the chat. Interesting. Build creative tech solutions or prototype. Yes, Sarshit, I agree. Hackathon is like that for sure. But before you actually get into the hackathon, now that you know that you are getting into the hackathon, I would urge you to think, to put why of that problem statement. Start thinking about what is it that you will do. And I want about who are you developing this solution for before you start thinking about how you will develop this solution. Okay. It is very, very natural, right? I also did my engineering. So for engineers, or I don't know if any non-engineers are also participating in, it is very, very, as problem solvers, whoever are the problem solvers who are participating into this hackathon, it is very, very easy to look at the problem statement and start thinking about, we will add one chatbot, we'll give one dashboard, right? We will do WhatsApp alert, we will do SMS, we will do this, we will do that, we will add gamification, right? Thinking about what the elements that will go into the solution as soon as we look at the problem statement, right? very, very easy for us to do that because that is what we do. We look at the problems and we solve it, right? As problem solvers. However, let me tell you, if you focus a little bit more on why are you trying to solve this problem, then the ideas that you will come up with into the what part of it will be much, much different and much, much better than you would otherwise, right? Same brain, same teams, same access to all the LLMs that you have, right? All the perplexities and chat GPTs of the world. Still, if you pay attention, pay a little bit more attention to the why of it, then your what will become very, very good quality. Similarly, as soon as you have your what, rather than jumping into how you want to do it, if you pay attention to who is going to use it and who is going to benefit from it and how, then your how part of it will become much, much better. Okay. So one thing that you should think about before the hackathon, what you have to do is you have to focus on why are you doing before you decide why are you trying to solve this problem statement, before you decide what will you do to solve this problem statement, and think about who is it going to before you decide. Now, how does it matter? Does it matter? It does, right? Like example, if your problem statement is going to address people who are in the low connectivity region or people who are facing electricity outages, right? Or maybe the network is not very good, then you will definitely think about when you put your statements of what or when you think about how to implement, you will think about some kind of offline solution, right? Something that will do a synchronization with the server when the electricity comes back or when the network is re-established. You will not go with a solution that is very high bandwidth, right? Videos, all videos, right? Some of the people on the call who are in urban regions who enjoy high speed, high bandwidth connectivity to the internet or uninterrupted power supply may not be able to figure out the problems that are being faced by the students or the end users of your system who are at a rural area that is facing continuous electricity outages or continuous network interruptions and so on, right? Low bandwidth networks and so on. So it is very, very important. Then you will not think about putting, all video based learnings, but you will probably think about making sure that your solution elements have low size, like, less size of even though the connection is not there. So it is very, very critical for us to understand why are we doing this before we do what, so that we focus on the highest value addition to the problem and who before we really look at how. Okay. So of put into the context, and you may have heard of this, but if not, then just to remind you once again what Albert Einstein said, or at least it is but irrespective of that, why do we need to put why before what is because spend enough time. He talks about putting 55 minutes out of 1 hour to defining the problem and understanding the problem and 5 minutes to solve it. But maybe it was because Einstein solved the problem in 5 minutes. May not be 55 minutes out of 1 hour, but you should spend sufficient amount of time to understand the problem statement, understand why are we doing what we are doing. Okay. Only then the remaining of your time that you spend in defining what is it that you will do to solve the problem, defining the solution elements, defining the features of your product. Much okay. So let us think about this, and this is something that you need to do right now. I mean, not literally right now, but you need to do this before your hackathon. So when I evaluated some of the ideas submitted or solutions submitted, I saw that people had simply used some LLMs to give the problem statement and then got back a response that had like hundreds of features. I'll give you an example, right? So one of the things that I evaluated was about some school in a rural area where engaging kind of a learning solution, right? I think it was for a school engaging learning solution. So I could literally see right from gamification bilingual to the offline to hundreds of things being proposed and very much machine like kind of responses in the proposed solution, right? Which is okay, fair enough. But as you have used the a power of Gen AI to come up with think about a lot of features, you should also use the power of Gen AI, LLMs, your chat GPTs, metas, perplexities of the world to even understand the problem a little bit better. Okay. So what I thought of doing is I thought of actually picking up some problem statements. So let me just try to open this Smart India Hackathon, right? So these are, I believe, the problem statements, a lot of them actually that were given to you, right? So what I want you to do is not now, but once you go back probably and you get together, open the problem statement once again, right? You will of course have access to whatever you have um, written in terms of whatever you have submitted as your solution approach or whatever. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, digital learning platform for rural schools. Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of I have looked at a lot of ideas that were given for this, right? So let's say this, right? Let's take this example, AI based crop recommendation for farmers. Okay, to open this. What is the background? Farmers face challenges in accessing timely, personalized, accurate agricultural support, language barriers, lack technical knowledge, limited reach of conventional advisory, reduce effectiveness, emerging generative AI techniques present an opportunity, hyper-localized guidance, and so on and on, right? So this is the problem statement. This is the background that has been given. And then there is, of course, some detailed description about how you can create an AI-driven decision support system that will decide properties and this, that, and a lot of things. So now if you look at it, I would request you to put on chat as to what have you understood out of why do we need this? Why do we need AI-based crop recommendation for farmers? Can I request you to put your understanding on the chat? Why do you need it? I've just kept it open so you can have a look at it. It is talking about some challenges. Why this? Why do the farmers need this? Why are we trying to solve this problem? I'll request you to please put it on the. I'll also read it out just in case if anybody needs. What we're talking about here is farmer challenges in accessing timely, personalized, and accurate agricultural support, language barriers, lack of technical knowledge, and limited reach of conventional advisory services reduce the effectiveness of existing solutions. Okay. So, okay, Harshit is saying to optimize resources and boost productivity. Okay. So to optimize, whatever resources they may have access to, it could be what? Agricultural equipments, it could be the seeds, or, to even figure out what, like, let's say if they only have so much of a land, then how do they make sure that, they are able to put in the right um, right seeds, like what kind of crop, what is the climate, and what is it that they should use. Education, is it really education? Are we talking about educating the farmers here? May not be, right? You are of course giving them recommendations to do something, but it is not really education, right? So the objective is to optimize resources, boost productivity, yes. Yeah, one of the objectives could also be, one of the why behind this could also be to identify problems and eliminate diseases at the initial stage itself, right? So let's say if a farmer is looking at, so just diving a little bit deep. So if a farmer is looking at, the some of the leaves are getting yellow or something like that, and they don't have access to experts, then then maybe your crop recommendation can be. Then informative decisions by analyzing factors like soil type, weather, nutrient levels. Yes, and TCS long back had come up with this solution called M-Krishi that did similar things. Of course, we did not have Gen AI or AI back then. AI, yeah, it was and it was multilingual. So yeah, so right. So readily available consultant advisor at their fingertips. Yes, that is also something that they have made. They may not have access to conventional advisory services. Maybe the conventional advisory services are very costly, so they don't really want to, they cannot afford or something like that, right? Sustainability is okay. Reduces dependence on guesswork, making it okay. Yeah, sustainability could be. It is not mentioned here, but yeah, you can add it as an additional thing. But I would go with this, like at a very, very core, what we are trying to do is giving a readily available consultant and advisor to help them make informed decisions, right? Based on the constraints that they have, right? Based on the resources that they have and so on, right? So, moral of the story, please try and understand the problem statement. Okay, spend time. If you haven't already spent time, this is the right time before you get into the actual hackathon to try and understand the problem statements, right? Now, what I have done is I have taken one particular problem statement, which is AI based dropout prediction and counseling system. I took it because of some really sad and tragic incidents that recently happened. Um, uh, with some students in Delhi, I think, right? So it is actually like some of the probably facing um, not getting the right counseling or whatever, have a lot of details about that case, but could actually lead to fatality, right? To a point where students are actually taking a drastic step. This is a really big problem in the society. So that is probably what something we want to address, right? So okay, so coming back, so here the problem statement that is given is AI based drop system, right? And there is some background given in which there is also an approach that has been suggested and so on. There are some commercial analytics platforms that are available. However, they may be beyond the reach for public institutes because of the trends, right? Currently, a lot of things are maintained in maybe some Excel sheets and or maybe some paper-based, like the attendance is captured. So we don't know who is attending, who is not. There is no single maybe, and then there are dropouts because the students are disengaged. Students have not provided the counseling and so on. I mean, that is what I try to understand. I also took help from the LLMs, and this is what it talked about, right? So let us try to understand, why are we doing this? Why does this matter, right? So students disengage long before the term end marks reveal failure. So it is not that after they get their results and they see that they have really got less marks, they are disengaging. They would have disengaged long before that. And if there is a way to provide early intervention, then it can probably prevent dropouts, and it can probably also improve academic success. And well, is it that there are no such platforms available today? No. So many analytics platforms are available, right? SAP provides solutions, and a lot of these commercial ERPs provide solutions that can actually give you this whole dashboarding and things like that. However, it turns out to be very costly, and public institutes probably don't have so much money, right, for all these platforms. So they need a simple solution, transparent, low maintenance solution that can actually save the disengagement. Like, they will make the students more engaged. It can us early engage. So here we are not talking about coming up with some gamified learning and all that, right? It is not what it is needed. What is needed is figure out, right? You already have the data. The institute already has the data. Maybe it is not, the data is already there. What we need to do is from that data, come up with some kind of an analytics that can who are the people who need intervention, when do they need intervention, and so on, right? So very, very important focus on why does this matter? Who are the people for which it is going to matter? And what happens if we solve it? And what happens if we don't solve it, right? I have already written what happens if we solve it. So what happens if we don't solve this problem? Can I request you to please put it on the chat? What happens if we don't solve this problem? Can I request you to please put it on chat? What happens if we don't look at, we don't want this dropout and counseling in colleges or colleges? I mean, I am as a college. Right? Ashish? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Go back to the chat. Talented students may leave due to temporary failure, lack of support. Yes. Students go unnoticed, leading to higher dropouts, long-term academic failure. Yes. Right. I agree. Yeah. So if we don't do this, if the schools do not look at the dropouts, if they do not link it to like attendance or performance of the students to the counseling system, then probably, we are risking a lot more people dropping out and leading to not so good future that they may have got because they would have gone through the schools and colleges. So it is very, very important for us to understand why are we doing this, right? Why is it important? Because it helps us to put things into perspective before we come up with the ideas. The second thing that we also have to understand is who before how. So who is it that we are designing this solution for, right? And that also takes us to this concept of user personas. Okay, user personas are basically fictional profiles that represent various user types. Yeah, thank you, Rajesh, for your answer there. So user personas are fictional profiles who are representing various user types. And there is some research done by the people before you actually come up with your ideas or your solution elements or things like that to understand what are their goals, what are their pain points, and things like that, right? So, to give you an example, let's say if you are working on a personalized travel itinerary kind of an application, example persona could be Ria, who is a tech savvy 28-year-old solo traveler who is seeking quick travel itineraries, right? Personalized travel itineraries is a huge topic, right? It's a big thing, right? Who are you creating these personalized travel itineraries for, right? So maybe in this case you are choosing 28-year-old tech savvy solo traveler who is seeking quick travel itineraries, right? You could also be focusing it on a family, right, who wants to explore new places on their own and they are looking at assistance from, an AI based solution for that, right? Or you could also have a persona of a group of friends who want to explore things and they want personalized travel itineraries. They don't want to just join a group tour, right? Or you could explore a persona which is maybe um, somebody who is exploring a new country, right? The person has never traveled to that country and they are exploring this new country and they want it very personalized. So they want to tell the system, or the travel agent, maybe if the travel agent is a human, what are their interests and what is it that they have done before, what kind of things they like, what kind of things they enjoy, or what have they seen on various travel, like whoever travel influencers they may be following on Instagram reels or whatever they have seen, they may want to use that and create their own personalized travel itinerary, right? So knowing who we are doing this for is very, very helpful, because that will help us decide what will you do, how will you do, and things like that, right? It helps us to empathize with users, and it helps us to prioritize the features, right? Like for example, if you are doing this for Ria, who is going to do a solo traveling, then you don't have to worry about providing a collaboration platform. But if you are focusing on a group of friends who want to explore, or a family who is who is trying, want to look at providing some kind of collaboration features within your recommendation system as well, right? Or considering multiple interests together and coming up with some common minimum kind of a thing, or providing options and things like that, which will not happen if you are focusing on a solo traveler who is seeking quick travel itineraries, right? So it is very, very important for us to understand who is it that we are deriving these solutions for, and think of user personas. Okay, so now going back to the problem statement that we were talking about, which was about the dropout prediction and counseling system, who do you think are our personas here? Who do you think we are looking at here? Major personas. I mean, there could be hundreds of personas, but we should look at who are our major students. Yes, perfect. Yeah. May not be all students, right? Are we looking at all students here? What kind of students? What kind of students would use or would benefit from this particular system? At risk students, yes. Students who are struggling, students who are probably disengaged, students who have not been attended, and things like that, right? Yes, that is absolutely correct. Who else would benefit from this system? Who else? College, yeah. Can we be more specific? What do we mean by college? Who in college? Faculty advisor, yes, or maybe administrator. Yeah, yeah, right. Okay, who else? So I agree with students, maybe the students who are struggling, maybe the administrator from college who is probably taking care of attendance and also arranging for counseling, etc., etc. Who else? Parent and guardian, yeah, absolutely, yes, parent and guardian, yeah, because they are also a very good stakeholder, a very important stakeholder in this, right? They definitely want the well-being for their students, and they also are someone who can intervene. Yes, who else? Anybody else? Who else will benefit from this? Okay, country people related to teachers. Okay, yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, of course, yes, teachers also, because they can also tune in the way they are teaching to the needs of, if there are a lot of struggling students, then maybe yes, you'll probably have to change something in the way the subjects are being taught altogether, right? And however, I was just trying to come to this aspect, right? So many struggling students have disengaged beyond recovery. Counselors and mentors need a mechanism, right? You see this? So here we need a mechanism, or this system is going to help the counselors and mentors so that they are able to see these risk indicators very, very early, so that students don't go beyond recovery, right? The interventions come in so that the students are able to benefit from it, right? So though I agree that teachers and parents are also important personas, I have taken three for the discussion. Okay. So one is struggling student, one is a mentor or counselor, and one is the institute administrator, right? And what you see on the screen is an example of an empathy map. So all of these aspects are part of something that we call as design thinking. Okay. So design thinking is, okay, how many of you already are aware of design thinking? Let me ask. You can raise your hands. You don't have to put it on the chat. If you are able to raise your hands? You raise if you're aware. Okay. Ayusha, Sheikh have raised their hands. Some of the people are aware, right? Or rest of the people, are you listening? Or you are busy on your phones or something? Okay. Okay. A lot of people are putting thumbs up. Thank you for that. So yeah, thank you, team. So so this is basically something which is a part of design thinking. Design thinking is what we say um, in the in the industry is that you use design thinking to make sure that you are solving the right problem. Okay. So all of these things that we are talking right now, which I'm recommending you to do before the hackathon. Remember, you have to do this before the hackathon. That is before you get there on 8th of December for the hackathon. You have to do it before that. Do it in whatever way you can and use LLMs, or sit down and break your heads as a team. Think about it, call people. You can create empathy maps, you can create user personas in many different ways, right? I'm sure all of you have floated surveys and got responses, right? You have done it, right? I know it. I am a parent to an engineering college student, so I know the kind of things that all of you also do. So you would have done that. So you can float surveys and you can gather more information about the problem statement that you are trying to solve. Let's say you are trying to solve a problem for farmers, but you know nothing about farming, right? You don't know what the farmers really face. Then what will you do? And you don't know any farmers, so then you cannot do primary research, right? You cannot send out surveys because you don't know whom to send it to, right? Or maybe you can try to call some uncle and things like that, or somebody that your aunt knows or something, and talk. But if it is not possible, then please rely on secondary research. Secondary research is when you can read about it, read articles about it, and also you can trust your friend Perplexity or GPT or Gemini, whatever pro version that you may have, and try and get to this empathy map and user personas, right? So do that. If you do that, if you invest a little bit of time, I'm not telling you to invest like days, but even if you invest some hours into it to create, you're thinking about why are we trying to solve this problem? Who people to solve this problem for? Define them. There may be tens of them. You saw, right? Just now we identified so many. We saw students, then we said teachers, we said parents, right? Then I said counselor, and then institute, college. You said college. So 5, 6. You can't address them all, especially if you are creating a software system only in 36 hours. You cannot address all the personas. You will prioritize. We'll see the prioritization a bit later, but do that. It is essential. I will see that when you do this, the quality of your product is way more higher than otherwise. You would have just given the problem statement and came back with the feature saying we want to do these features. Okay. So invest some time. This is just an example of an empathy map. So what do we mean by empathy map? Empathy map, as the word suggests, about mapping all the things that we can learn by empathizing with the identifying user persona, right? So you will find out some demographics. You will try to map like what is the age of the students that we are targeting, right? What is the role? Like, are they school children? Are they primary school children? Are they secondary? Because the solution will be different. Why are we doing this? Understanding who, why is it important? Because the solution differs, right? You would have seen that the rural areas are very different than the kind of things that work for urban area students, right? Even in student, when you say student, even in that, there will be a distinction. So it will be very important for you to know who is it that you're solving these problems for, right? Try and understand their pain points, right? Like the student is falling behind unnoticed until it is too late. The student is facing a lot of stress because of repeated failures, right? Similarly, the counselor doesn't have a consolidated view of students' risk. Right? There are so many spreadsheets that they have to look at. Maybe there are some physical notebooks that they have to look at, right? To understand what is happening, and oh, this person has not, this student has not attended, this student has attended. I have already spoken to this person, the other person. All of these things they are kind of trying to understand. They may not have a lot of tech, then they may not be tech savvy, right? Whereas the college administrator is like, yeah, I know that, if I get an ERP based solution, SAP based solution, it will be so easy. But where is the money, right? There is no money to do all this, right? The money is already being spent on a lot of other things by the college, investing in labs and, buying maybe your AI, Gen AI licenses and things like that. So, but there is a pressure to reduce the dropouts, right? The principal is asking, like, why are we having so many dropouts? Or the government is asking, yeah, why, what are you doing? But there is no money. So the administrator has to, these are the pain points that the administrator has. Look at that. Look at the gains. What do we mean by gains? Is that how will it help if we implement this solution? How will it help? What are the gains that they are looking at, right? They are looking at early support. They are looking at automated alerts. They are looking at a cost-effective solution and so on. And to come to these pain points and gains, you also have to have them. So see what they see, right? They see their friends succeeding. They have a fear of judgment, right? Anxiety, isolation, these struggling students. Or they think that, I wish someone would have noticed this earlier, right? Before it is too late, before they steps or something like that, right? So once you know what is it that they hear, what is it that they feel, what is it that they think, you definitely develop a much better solution than what you would have thought, because you are what you are, right? You may not be a struggling student, or you wouldn't know what a counselor does. You wouldn't know what your college institute administrator may be facing the challenge, right? Your solution would change drastically when you start at it from the user point, right? When you empathize with the users. Okay, so to spend some time in coming up with empathy map, right? And it has become very, very easy because of the various Gen AI tools that are available to, most of you will have access to, right? Some Meta or some Chat GPT, even free versions would do a wonderful job if you are not able to do primary research. Okay, all right. After this, try to map it to user personas. And why do we need to do this is because it gives us a very clear picture of why we are trying to solve this problem, right? So user persona for a struggling student is talking about her needs, uh, knowing more about her, what is her goal, or mentor. He doesn't want, let's say, Anil doesn't want a complex analytics, hundreds of graphs, right? Without understanding anything. If he is not very tech savvy, then maybe what he would need is, alert saying, Ria is at risk. So he would know that he has to connect with Ria more, maybe, once in a week, than somebody else who is at a low risk. Correct? So that is what probably he would appreciate more than 100 dash you made because you know some fancy analytics tool. Correct? So understanding user personas, starting with why, try and understand why we are doing what we are doing. Try and understand who is it that we are trying to solve this problem for. Empathize with them, right? Create these empathy maps. Then create the personas. Like these are the people that we are trying to solve this problem. This can also lead you to adding important features like automated alerts, for example, in this case, right? Or alerts to the students or even to the parents, right? Like for example, or making sure that the student is able to see what is the progress that is being made and so on. These will be the highest value added items in the solution because now you're thinking about it from the user's perspective. Okay. All right. Now that you have looked at why and who, the next thing you should do before you come up with the list of features is define the what. Okay, what is the outcome that we are looking at? Outcome, okay, not the solution features. What is the outcome that we are looking at? So we are looking at reduction in dropout rates. We are looking at early intervention rate, right? So at-risk students, what percentage of at-risk students are identified at least 4 to 6 weeks before the term end? Or is the attendance increased by X percentage? Or have the average test scores for at-risk students? So you decide. You, of course, cannot do all of this, right? These are like too many things to focus on in a third hackathon or a 5-day hackathon. You figure out which is the persona or personas, like maybe pick up one or two that you want to focus on, and what is the outcome that you want to drive, so that that translates into which are the features that you want to focus on in this hackathon. Okay, let's say if you want to focus only on struggling students and the counselor, then you will probably focus on reduction in dropout rates. How can you reduce the dropout rate? So maybe these are some of the ideas to reduce the dropout rates. And how will you increase the early intervention rate? So these are the ideas. So these are the features that will help us to reduce the dropout rate. These are the features that will help us to improve the early intervention rate. Okay, so very important to look at the who and then define the outcomes that you are trying to derive out of your project in the hackathon. This is now going to lead you to your feature list, right? So what happens after this is that you will start thinking about how. Now that you know who you are doing it for, why are you doing it, and what is it that you are trying to achieve as outcomes, you will start building your backlog. Okay. Now, backlog is a concept which is very, very popular in the Agile world. And user stories is another term that we use to actually write down the requirements, right? When I started my career, is like long, we used to get something like software requirement specification document or business requirements document or things like that, which is a huge document of 90 pages. And it will come to us from the customers, then we would break it down, and then we will go for like 2 years project and things like that, and then we will show it to the users after 2 years, and then they will say, oh, this doesn't have this doesn't have that. Those were the days when I started my career, but that doesn't happen any longer, right? What we do is we use agile ways of working, and we'll get to that in a couple of slides. But one of the things that you will do, depending upon what you have discovered in the outcomes that you want to derive, is come up with a list of features that will help you to achieve those outcomes, right? You will break down those features into some stories or tasks, right? And then those are the things that you will use during your hackathon. Okay, so this is something that you should do. Work with your mentors and do it before you get into the hackathon, right? So you to create the backlog, but before creating the backlog, look at why and who and what, which is basically the outcomes, user personas outcomes. Then you will have the best of the backlog that you will go with into the hackathon. Okay. So what is a backlog? Backlog is nothing but a to-do list. So these are the 100 things that can be done to solve the given problem, right? And of course, you will not be able to do 100 things in 36 hours. So you will prioritize and you will, do only a top 25 or 30 or 50, right? Depending upon your speed. Okay. So now here I'm introducing two new terms. One is a backlog, nothing but a list to do. And second is user stories, right? Now that we have identified the user personas, now we will write our requirements inside that. It talks about, as a persona, I want something so that some benefit occurs. Okay. Why do we want to write it this way? Because very clear who doing this for, and you have already done some work in understanding who are the right stakeholders for this. So you will use it as a whatever personas you have identified. I want to do something so that. So why do we to write it that? Because we just don't add it because, XYZ feels this is a really cool thing to do, or this is a fancy thing to do, or things like that, right? You will add only what will drive the benefit to the users, right? So only what drives the benefit to the users is what you will develop. So you will always focus on the value that it is going to give to your ideal user. For example, this is an example of a user story for your personalized learning recommendation. One of the Smart India hackathons, right? So here the example is, as a student, I want AI-based topic suggestions so that I can learn faster. So you already, maybe you feed in, maybe you tell AI what you already know, and then AI will tell you what next you should read, right? As a learning recommendations, right? So when you say that, so that it will link to the user value, right? Okay. So some examples of how we write it. So I've created this backlog for the same dropout Smart India Hackathon statement. So what you see here is, you will see that you will have some of the which are for student, right? So student is one persona that we had identified. Some stories are for mentors or the counselors, right? And some stories are for the administrators, correct? So as a student, I want to receive early alerts about academic risk so that I can take corrective action before it is too late. So you know what is so that, right? You know what is the so what. Why are we going to develop this particular story? Because it is going to help the student to do what? To take corrective action, correct? So then once you know this, you will be able to figure out how you will do it. So maybe automated alerts, right? That also you will have to decide whether you want to send an SMS, you want to send WhatsApp, or to send it on the college portal. What is it that will help, right? Maybe the like you see here, alerts visible on student dashboard. Next is, as a student, I want personalized counseling recommendations so that I get targeted support to improve my performance. So wants it, the student, what does he or she want? Personalized counseling recommendations, right? Why? How will it help him or her? They will get the targeted support to improve the performance, right? So create your backlog like this. So what all have we covered so far? We said that you look at the problem statement again, the one that you are going to develop in the hackathon. You understand the why. And how will you understand the why? You send out surveys, or you do some secondary research, or use your Gen AI tools. You talk to your mentors, you sit down and brainstorm and understand why are we solving this problem. Very, very critical first step. Second step, identify who are the people that we are solving this for, right? Then talk to them, empathize with them, right? Try to understand what are their pains, what are the gains, what do they see, what do they feel, what do they hear, and create user personas and empathy maps. Once you do that, then you think of what are the outcomes that you are trying to achieve. And when will you do all this? You will do it now before the hackathon, right? Try to understand what is the outcome that you are trying to achieve. 100 things, but you will only try to achieve 5 things, right? In the hackathon. 5 things, 10 things, whatever you can, right? If some of you are very, very smart students, you will probably do 100 things. But let's assume that, you will do 10 things. Then focus on those. And then you will create your backlog. To achieve those 10 things, what do you need to do? What are the tasks that you need to do? What are the stories that you need to do? I recommend you use this for very clear for whom are you doing this work and how does it help them. It will also help you to articulate it when you give your demonstrations, right? To the that how why have you done this? Why have you incorporated this particular gamification, for example, or why have you integrated sending WhatsApp messages? Why? Because you want to give this at automated alert to the students where they will instantly find it, right? If you put it on the student dashboard, do we expect students to log into their dashboards every day? May not be, right? But do you expect the students to log into WhatsApp every day? Maybe yes, right? So that is why you will put it into the WhatsApp alert. Okay. So do this, create your backlog, and then most important is you prioritize, because I've seen in some of the ideas that I evaluated, the solution or the approach that was suggested or the description that was given was huge. I mean, if I, as an industry person, if I get this kind of a thing from a customer, I would say, oh, well, it will take 6 months, right? Maybe you guys are much better than us, and you also have GenAI tools at your disposal. Maybe you will be able to do it, but maybe in a month, right? So many features I saw, like, right from community, getting the community involved, to improve that rural students. That is something that I was, then gamification, then multilingual, then somebody even went on to give coins, people who like some coins they have to consume and things like that, then videos, then personalized recommendations, then so some people talking about offline video. Some people also said, if students create videos, we will give them more coins, they can use it. Great ideas, but you have to prioritize. You can't do all of this in 36 hours or maybe 5 days if you are doing something in hardware. That is why we have to prioritize. It is very, very critical step in software development to prioritize the right high value items, right? So you should always prioritize on two things. One is, what is the user value that you are trying to give? Is it valuable? Like when you are comparing three things and saying this is the one I will go with, always prioritize based on user value. And second is, of course, feasibility. So let's say you prioritize community support to this rural student education. Will you be able to gather that community support and test it out in 36 hours? Validate that against something else that you may have planned and go with that. So it is very, very critical to prioritize the features in your backlog, right? Example, like another thing that I saw in the Smart India Hackathon, disaster warning, right? So what is the highest value thing that they should get alert, like, right? Like if you have to have disaster warning, what is the most valuable thing to the users is that they are going to get alerts. It could be SMS alerts, it could be, just some announcements, broadcasts, whatever it is, but it will be the highest valuable and also feasible. Like sending SMS alert is technologically feasible to be done in very short period of time. So you will probably do it, right? So this is an example. So, but of course, you will have to think about what is the MVP for your particular solution. But okay, I just realized that I never talked about what is MVP. So MVP is basically minimum viable product. What do we mean by minimum viable product? There could be so many things that can be done in a product. But when you product for the first time you launch it into the market, what is the minimum set of features that you have to provide so that the customers can use it and see some benefit out of your product is your MVP, right? So you may have thought of 1,000 brilliant features in your product, right? But if you go on develop all features, it may take you 6 months, let's say, for example. Will your customers wait for 6 months or will they already move on to some competitors in 6 months is a question, right? So if you want to capture, if you want to enter market early, if you want to make sure that customers use your products and not go to the competitors, so give something hands for that. We define MVP. Let's say if you are developing a retail banking app, the MVP could be where you will allow the user to at least log in, view their balance, and send money, for example, right? That will be your MVP. After that, you can add, view detailed statements and open an FD and whatnot, right? So the minimum viable product will be the user should be able to log in, should be able to see their own account, at least check the balance, and should be able to maybe send money to somebody, correct? So that will be your MVP. So that way, whatever solution you are developing in the hackathon, you can define your MVP. Okay. So I will give you some more examples of this, right? So personalized MVP, personalized learning MVP, if you have to come up with, right? So you will want to focus on features that will suggest topics based on the user or if you are itinerary MVP, then you'll probably focus on a single destination and come up with basic itinerary. Then you can enhance whatever other features that you would have thought about. Or if you have a gamified education system as your hackathon topic, you probably should focus on getting a simple quiz module with scoring to gamify, just to start with at least, right? And so on. So coming back to our dropout example, I had listed down 10 items, right? So out of that, maybe first of all, you think about what is the priority. Is it high priority, medium priority, low priority? That will depend on the outcomes that you want to drive, the users that you want to focus on, right? And then what you will do is, if we want to achieve that particular outcome and for that particular user, then maybe we will go with 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8 as the MVP. So we will say this is our minimum viable product. We will implement these 5 things into that minimum viable product. This is exit. So even if you are, for example, you you are actually working on that dropout hackathon, you have different, you may have completely different user stories, and you may have completely different MVP also, right? This is just as a example of that particular problem statements backlog, right? So okay, all right. So before we get into during the hackathon, I want somebody to summarize it. So can you put on whatever I spoke about what you should do before the hackathon? Can you please put it on the chat? It will also give me 1 minute to have some water. What have we discussed so far? What will you do before hackathon? Hello, are you all there or have gone to have coffee? What will you do before the hackathon based on whatever we discussed so far? Identify problem, find solution, build MVP before the hackathon. Not build MVP, decide the MVP, right? You will build during the hackathon, isn't it? But you will please try to understand the why part of it. Please try to understand the users. Who are the users? What are their pain points? Empathize with your users and also identify what is the outcome that you want to drive out of the hackathon. You can't do everything. It is not possible. You can take it from me. Everything cannot be done in a short period of time, right? So, okay, this is good. This is a very good question. On what parameter should we give a rating to decide high, medium, or low priority? This is a very, very good question. You will decide it based on the outcomes that you finalize. Okay. I will just, it's a very good question. Thank you, Ayush, for asking this question. You remember we talked about this outcome. So a lot of these outcomes can be through this, for this problem statement, you can achieve any of these outcomes, right? So can you do all of these? No. So maybe you choose that, I want to focus on students and I want to reduce the dropout rate. Then all things that you will prioritize in this is what is it that will drive to reduce the dropout rate for the students. So from the students' perspective, what is it that you think will really help? Then you will say, okay, I think we have to have early risk alert, and we also have to have personalized counseling recommendation. We don't care about this mentor dashboard and all that, right? But yeah, maybe automated attendance tracking can help. Okay, maybe forget about the automated attendance tracking, but if the students can see the progress, it may help to reduce our dropout rate. Then we will focus on that. So you will base your decision and work with your mentors on this, right? I do not think you will probably be able to do everything on your own, right? So sit with your mentors to do that. Ask your teacher, would better judge of it. But you as a team decide what is it that you want to achieve out of the hackathon, and based on that you will prioritize what will have to happen if we want to achieve at least one outcome, what will you need? If you want to achieve two outcomes, what will you need, right? That is how you will give a rating of high, medium, and low. But it is not just that, it is also feasibility. Let's say, there is something that will definitely give you the outcome. Need a lot of investment, or you need software that is probably not available, or it is potentially not feasible, right? The schools where you will deploy this solution will not be able to get access to that. Then it is not feasible technically. Then you will not prioritize. Okay. Okay. I hope that answers your question. All right. So to summarize before we get into during the hackathon, you will look at the problem once again before the hackathon. You will try and understand the why behind it. You will do some primary, secondary research, maybe send out surveys, or maybe, use Gen AI to do it. You will identify who are your primary stakeholders, who are the users, empathize with them, right? Understand what is it that, what are their pains, what do they see, what do they hear, empathize with them, build that persona, and look at what is the outcome. Because now you know what are their needs and what are the gains for those users. You will be able to decide what is the outcome that you want to derive. Based on that, you come up with your backlog. What does the backlog mean? It is just a list of to-do items, right? In that backlog, if you are able to write your requirements as a user, I want to, so that it will be the best thing. Okay. It's okay. Even if you're not able to get there, it's okay. But at least keep the user at the back of your mind, and also look at the benefits. The benefits will tell you what is high business value, and you will prioritize that. Depending upon the outcome that you want to focus, you will map the business value to that, and you will prioritize, and also look at the technical feasibility to prioritize, right? If you prioritize something that is going to eat up your 24 hours to implement, that is probably not the right thing to do, right? Because it will eat up a lot of your time, and you would have implemented only one feature, right? So which will actually be a you will you'll not score well, and the solution will not be useful to whoever you are developing it for. So remember that, and then you prioritize to come up with your MVP. So have a very good backlog, user personas, some prioritization, and MVP ready before you get into the hackathon. Okay. All right. We have 45 more minutes left. So I'm going to now I'm going to take you through some theory. Okay. And I will try to relate it to what you will do also, but please allow me some time to share some theory with you, because it will help you to, because you may not remember everything, right, out of this hackathon, out of this webinar, but at least some points, if you can remember, I think it will help you to progress well into during your hackathon. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk about some terms which you should know, and you should also try and practice during your hackathon. So the first term is iterative. What do we mean by iteration? Iteration is like a loop. Okay. So in Agile ways of working, we use iterative method. What does this mean? It means that, like when I started my career, we used to get a problem statement or a requirement document. Then some of our architects would work on it, come up with architecture, like 4 months to define the requirements, 2 months to define the architecture, then design, then develop for 6 months, then test it for 2 months, and then give it to the users after 2 years. And then they will say, oh, this doesn't have this, doesn't have that. Nobody does that anymore, is what I said, right? So what do we do instead? We do iterative development. So we take small set of requirements, right? You see here, we take small set of requirements, we define it, we plan it, we build it, we test it, right? And then we give it to the end users or the customers to test it, validate it, to create a small increment of functionality. Then we get into another iteration. So this, some 2 weeks, then again 2 weeks, again 2 weeks. So at the end of every 2 weeks, we have developed something, shown it to the customers, taken their feedback, and implemented something in another iteration, and so on and so on. So we work in iterative fashion. We work in iterations. What is iteration? It's like a loop, like a day. A day is an iteration. Every day you get up, you do some things, you eat, right? You go to college, you study, right? You have fun with your friends, you play, maybe you watch your Netflix or whatever OTT thing, you study, you sleep. Next day again, you wake up, you do a similar thing. Maybe you do some different things, but this is an iteration, a time box of 24 hours which goes on and on and on and on. And you are able to derive some output or outcome out of each day. Similarly, we have iterations of 2 weeks each. Of course, during hackathon, you will not be able to have 2 weeks iterations naturally, but I would recommend you to do it in an iterative fashion. Let's say if you have a 5-day hackathon, you can do a day long. If you do a 6 hours hackathon, you can do maybe 6 iterations of 6 hours each, or 4 iterations of 9 hours each, or 9 iterations of 4 hours each, whatever works for you, but do it in an iterative fashion. Don't doing everything and only integrate towards the end, because you will be in for surprises and not good surprises, right? So remember this, you have to develop it in iterative fashion. You also have to do it incrementally. Now, what do we mean by incremental? So this is an example of what is iterative and what is incremental. Okay. We just saw iterative, right? So iterative, maybe the artist will create a sketch, maybe, do some rough coloring and then, give it a finish. This is iterative. Whereas incremental will mean, okay, I will first draw um, a face, right? First paint a face, and I will add some more features and so on. So you are incrementally adding newer and newer features to your product. You first come up with an MVP in retail banking. You come up with an app that allows the user to log in, to see the balance, and to transfer money. Then you add more on top of that, then add more and more and more incrementally, right? So all agile methods use this concept of iterative and incremental. What does this mean? You don't do it in like a long stretch, you do it in small iterations, right? Small iterations. Do everything, have something ready, add more functionality in next iteration, add more functionality in next iteration, and so on. So I'm recommending it to you. If you are doing a 36 hours hackathon, do not do everything, on everything together and just showcase at the end of the 3 iterations, but you do either, 3 iterations of 12 hours or 4 iterations of 9 hours or 6 iterations of 6 hours. Does it help? It helps because it kind of gives you an opportunity to integrate everything, show something working software, right? A demo of what is working, your mentor, their feedback, and then also do some kind of retrospective. So we are going to see all of this, but it has a lot of benefits if you do it in an iterative fashion. Okay. All right. So we looked at iterative, we looked at incremental. So agile methods are in iterative and incremental approach to software development, and it is done in a highly collaborative manner. And I don't have to explain to you what is collaborative manner. You are going to experience it during the hackathon. All of you are going to put your heads together and do work very, very closely with each other to churn out a working solution, right? You don't worry about a lot of meetings and things like that, but you will produce a high quality software that is going to meet the needs of your stakeholders. So that is what an agile approach. And you follow this because this is the only approach that will make sense in a short, fast paced kind of software development that you will do during the hackathon. Okay. So I just wanted to show you this manifesto for agile software development. This was created by 17 thought leaders. So just want to read out the values. Keep it at back of your mind. Incense over processes and tools. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Nobody wants to look at your excellent PowerPoint presentation created using Gamma or whatever AI tool you would use if your product or your solution is not working, right? So working software has to be more valuable. than any documentation, any outstanding fancy document, right? Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. Let's say you discover while you are doing your hackathon, you discover you come up with a backlog, you go with a plan, but you discover that something is not working, or maybe you find some other thing that is more suitable to the customer needs. Then you should be able to respond to change. You cannot say no, we will not do that because we have own backlog and this is what we will do. No, you will try to respond to the change rather than just following a plan. A plan is important because it allows us to think. It allows us to prioritize from users' perspectives, etc. But changes may occur, right? Something may not work as expected, or you may get some feedback from your mentors or whoever you're talking to. So you will get some changes, and you should be able to respond to that change. Okay, so that is the manifesto, and all the agile methods like all the agile frameworks like Scrum, they are all based on top of that. So I also want to introduce you to Scrum because I'm going to talk about some of the practices that I would recommend you to follow during your hackathon. Okay, so so Agile basically is an abstract term, right? Like we are talking about some principles and things like that, right? We are saying do it in an iterative fashion, do it in an incremental fashion. But then people will have questions as to, but how, right? Okay, we will do it in iterations, but how? What do we have to do in those iterations? What do we have to do when you say we have to respond to change? What does it mean? Because this sounds very abstract. And that is where you have frameworks like Scrum coming into picture that will tell you how do you develop adaptive solutions? How do you work together? How do you generate value, right? So Scrum is a term that is coming from rugby, wherein um, it's a move where all the players come together and they move together and go a short distance, right? It's a move for that. So this is actually in contrast with a relay race that is used. You know what is a relay race, right? Like one person runs and then hands over um, the beacon to the next person, and then that person will hand it over to the next person, and so on. And that is how earlier it used to be. Like when I started working, come up with the requirements document, then give it to the person who creates architecture document, then give it to the person who creates design document, then give it to developers, then testers, and so on. But now it is a highly collaborative approach where everybody is working together to go at a short distance together, and again and again and again, right? So iteratively, incrementally, and so on. Okay, so I will try to explain very quickly as to what the Scrum process flow looks like. Okay, so we have backlog. So this is what we talked about a few slides back here. You remember this? We talked about this. This is the backlog. This is nothing but a list of all the things that you would want to do. Okay, so that in this product backlog, you probably have those 10 stories that we came up with for the AI-based dropout reduction system, right? And counseling system. So here you will have all those 10 things. Okay. Now let us assume that you take my advice and you decide that we will do a 12 hours of sprint. It means that you will do 3 sprints, right? 36 hours, 3 sprints. So what you will do first is plan naturally, right? You have 10 things to do. 10 things to do in 36 hours, and probably you have to plan something that you will do in next, correct? So you will start with sprint planning. What happens in sprint planning is you will look at what are the most important, most valuable 3 things or 4 things or 5 things, depending upon what you feel you can finish in 12 hours, and you will take it into your sprint backlog. So you will say, okay, we will do these 4 things in sprint 1. So you will put it like sprint 1, sprint 1, sprint 1, sprint 1. Or if you are using sticky notes, you will probably move it into a column saying, these are the things that we will do. Then you will start working. You will synchronize amongst each other every 2 hours. Okay, where are we? Where are we? Right? Everybody coming together, maybe every 2 hours, 3 hours. Okay, where are we? Oh, I'm still stuck. Or, I need help. Or, can you do this for me? Or whatever it is, right? So that will be your daily sync up meeting, right? Daily scrum. And you will do this for whatever time. you have decided for your sprint, let's say 12 hours, for example, then you will, after 12 hours, you will demonstrate something that we call as an increment, which is nothing but your working software. Some MVP that you would come up with that you will demonstrate. So there is a concept of sprint review in which we do a demonstration of the working software that has got created to the product owners. So in your case, you will your mentors. So you want to, but before that, of course, you will have to integrate, because different things will probably be sitting on different people's lap. Somebody will have front end, somebody will have back end, somebody would have done something, somebody would have done something else. So you will have to make sure that in those 12 hours, you also integrate everything together, make it working on one of the laptops and show it to the mentor or whoever you are getting feedback from. Then do a quick retrospective amongst the team, what went well, what could be done better, and then complete that sprint and get into the next sprint planning, right? So very simple. You have 100 things to do. You have 12 hours. You will say, okay, out of these 100, we can do these three in the 12 hours. That will become your sprint planning and will create your backlog for that particular sprint. You will work together, talk to each other. Where are we? What help do we need? What is our problem, right? And then after those 12 hours, you will create your working software, which is an increment. Review it with your mentor, right? Show it a working software, not, front end is here, back end is there. No, you integrate it together, bring it together, and you show the feedback, retrospect on what went well, what could be done better for the next sprint. Let us do this, let us not do this. This person is stuck in this task to him, and so on, right? And then you do next sprint planning. Then you again pick up next 2-3 things and work on it. And that is how you will close maybe 8 to 10, 6 to 8 things out of this 10 story backlog in your 36 hours. Okay. So this is at a high level. I want to also talk about a little bit about a little bit details into any of these, but I'll just take a pause if there are any questions. Okay, I think there are 30 more minutes, so I'll need at least 10 to 15 more minutes to complete my presentation, but I want to take a break to ask, are there any questions so far? Okay. Pre-built MVP to the, I don't think we need to build MVP before the event. Telling that we need to have MVP thought about before you go to the, you actually have to do the build during the hackathon, not before the hackathon. So let me just get this right. When I'm saying that you decide your MVP, you decide it on a piece of paper, on an Excel sheet about what is it that your MVP will be, not build it at the hackathon, right? Before the hackathon, you think about it, come up with a list and go to the hackathon and build it. Okay. Other two questions, I'm not the right person to answer. Maybe Ashish or somebody from the Smart India Hackathon team can answer that. Okay. The other two questions are about AI, Google, and software involving IoT. I request the Smart India team to answer those questions. Okay. All right. Okay. Assuming there are, go ahead. Let us look at it in a little bit of details as to what exactly happens. So the team is going to select items from the product backlog that they can commit on completing in that particular sprint. What is a sprint? It is just a time box. So let's say, you have 12 hours of one sprint. So you will do 12 hours, sprint 1, next 12 hours, sprint 2, next 12 hours, sprint 3, right? So you will do 3 sprints in 36 hours. If you do a sprint of 6 hours, then you will do 6 sprints in 36 hours. So sprint 1, 6 hours, 7 to 12 hours. Second sprint, 13 to 18, third sprint, and so on. So sprint is nothing but a time box. And what you will do is, first thing you will do is plan the sprint. What is it that you will do in this particular sprint, right? So the team will select the that yes, we will complete this. That is your sprint backlog. you will break it down, right, into small parts. I have put an example here. So let's say your story is, as a vacation planner, I want to see the photos of the hotels so that I can take a call on which hotel I want to live in. Okay. To do this, so you will break it into tasks. What are the tasks? You have to code the middle tier, you have to code the UI, you have to write test cases, then you have to code the classes, then you have to update the performance tests, maybe you have unit tests, right? And so on. So all of these will be the tasks needed for that particular story. So you will also break it into tasks and say who is going to do what, right? Like Sheesh is going to do this, um, Deepak is going to do that, Rajesh is going to do this, and Ayushi is going to do that, Ria is going to do something else, right? So all of that is going to be done by during the sprint planning. You will put the names across the tasks and then you will get into execution. Okay. What happens during execution? A slide on that, but what happens during execution? You will actually work on the stories. Okay. But if you go for a 12 hours sprint, which is actually a long one, you may probably choose to go for 9 hours or 6 hours or something. You make sure that you are continuously integrating, right? If you are allowed to use GitHub, please use it so that there is a lot of merge that is happening. If you're not allowed to use GitHub, but you will use some, if you are using some shared folders, make sure that you are constantly integrating. Make sure you are talking to each other, make sure you are helping each other, make sure you have some synchronization calls in between where you will talk about, we had taken 10 4 stories, 2 are done or nothing is done, and how do we move forward, and shall we only do take 2 instead of 4, and shall all of us work on those 2 stories only? So discuss that when the sprint is going on. Okay. After the sprint, there is a concept of sprint review. So what happens in sprint review? The team will present what it has accomplished during the sprint. They will present it to the product owners in real life, but in your case, you can present it to your mentors so that you see what is your working solution that you have developed in those few hours integrated, right? Please make sure you are in that things are only at the end of the hackathon everybody realizes that things are not integrated. It is working on Deepak's machine and it is not working on Ashish's machine and so on. So don't do that, please. Please keep on integrating and you have a working software available that you can demonstrate. Okay. It will be informal. You don't create any decks for it, right? And you can come and you can say this is what I've done, this is what is working, this is what is not working, and so on. So you will basically demonstrate it to your mentor. Feedback. The purpose of the sprint review is seek feedback, right? So you will seek feedback. It is very critical element of agile ways of working to get the feedback because we want to inspect and adapt. What does it mean? It is not that we will keep on developing without worrying about who feels what about it and so on. But we want to integrate things. We want to have a working solution and we want to show it to. We can get feedback, right? The mentor may say, oh, this is looking good, this is not so good, can you do this, can you do that, and I think we should probably, or we are way behind on our planned things which may happen in your first sprint. So let us prioritize these 2 things rather than working on these 4 things and so on. Okay, so that is what will happen in your sprint review. Then will come the sprint retrospective. So retrospective is extremely critical. They say that people say that retrospective is like, maybe you can skip it once in for a while, but then what happens if you skip it, right? So one of the about agile ways of working is the retrospective. So retrospective is all of you huddled together. You will see it, right? When you watch cricket matches, they are getting into a huddle. They're talking about, this is what is problem. Let us do this. Coming together, basically. It is about coming together and discussing what went well. What is it that we should do for the next sprint, right? What are the things that we probably should this 30, don't worry about this 30 minutes. 30 minutes is for a 2-week sprint. So you will probably do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, okay? But spend those 10 minutes, spend those 15 minutes to discuss about what is it that can probably be done better, okay? Vertical, because that is what will make your second sprint better than first sprint, third sprint better than second sprint, and fourth sprint, you will just crack it. It will get so streamlined, and you will be able to actually come up with a fantastic solution at the end of your fourth sprint, right? So retrospective is where it's coming together and thinking about what went well, what could be done better. Okay, what should we start, what should we continue, right? So if, like, for example, somebody may say that, I took this backend thing, but it is just not working for me. I need some help. Maybe I want to pick up middle where I want to tune the model or whatever it is, right? Or I need help, or maybe we should add more details because I just got confused when I started developing it. Okay, so that is your sprint retrospective. So I'll just go back to this flow diagram to explain you again. You start with the product backlog. This is the list of to-do items that you will do before. When you start the hackathon, you will break your 36 hours or 5 days into shorter time boxes. It could be anything that you are comfortable with, but do it, because once you have shorter time boxes, you are able to gain feedback better. You will integrate more often. Okay. In your time box, come together to plan. Look at what is it that you will do into that time box. Work together, reflect together, say, self, I need that help, and so on. After the time box, show your working solution, integrated work PPT. Not different things on different laptops, but working, integrated, working together to your mentor or whoever as a sprint to get their feedback, then huddle together to think about what went well, what could be done better, and then move on to the next sprint plan. So if you are doing 12 hours of sprint for a 36-hour hackathon, you will do this once, twice, and thrice. 3 sprints, 3 times planning, 3 times retrospective. Okay. Okay, I hope it is clear what is planning, what is review, what is retrospective. So in a nutshell, sprint length, you prioritize your tasks and allocate based on what is the capacity, what are the skill levels. You are a team, right? So you would know who is best at what. So based upon that, you allocate, right? Allocate the tasks, continuously integrating and frequently synchronizing in your team. Very is with the working software. Review with the mentors, right? Quickly look at the progress. If there are any adjustments to be done, do it, right? And then do a retrospective to continue. Okay. Identify improvements, enhance the future performance, and so on. Okay. So that is how you will use Scrum in your hackathon. And Scrum has been extremely good in terms of an iterative and incremental and collaborative approach to do software development and also hardware, but yeah, majorly software development. Okay. All right. So key takeaways: understand your users, create personas, build a backlog, define MVP, and apply the Agile and Scrum principles. It is a wonderful way to bring agility into your hackathon software development. Use time boxes to iterative, incremental, and collaborative fashion. And focus on learning, focus on collaboration, deliver value quickly, right? And all the best to you, all of you. We are hoping you'll be able to really deliver some high quality working software that will solve the real problems of India through this Smart India Hackathon. So that is where I will conclude my presentation. We have 20 more minutes in case there are any questions, and you can connect me. You ignore the employee ID, but yeah, um, you can connect me with me on my link _Barve, and this is my book, and I also do some podcasts, and I have my website. So this is for your information. Sir, if you have any questions, even you can send me messages on my LinkedIn as well. All right. Any questions? Just opening chat. Harshit, there is no need to get confused. They will answer your question. Don't worry. What is the question? What is the confusion about? This question. Okay, they will answer it. Don't worry. Don't get confused. You cannot pre-build MVP and bring it to hackathon. That I told you already. You cannot. You will have to think about your backlog and bring that to the hackathon. You have to come up with your list of user stories and bring that to the hackathon, not pre-built solution. You have to build your solution during the hackathon. For the other two, I think Ashish will answer, or anybody from the Smart India Hackathon team will answer. Okay. Any other questions? I will send my LinkedIn in chat. Yes. For a hardware category, right? Clarity on expected structure of the 5-day program. I don't know the expected structure of the 5-day program. Maybe Ashish or somebody can answer that. But you can decide your sprint length, Ayush. Ayush. You can maybe do a 1-day sprint and get feedback from your mentor. So decide it along with your mentor. What is it that you want to do? If you think one day you cannot really build your hardware thing, so maybe 1.5 days you can decide it to be. So depending upon what your comfort level is to complete something, you decide your sprint length. You can even do it 2 days or but the point that I'm trying to drive is do not leave it to the end. Okay, do it in an iterative fashion so that you keep getting feedback at certain intervals. Can we use AI template UI builder? That's also something that I don't know. What is allowed and what is not allowed is, I think, leave it to Ashish and the Smart India Hackathon team. What we discussed. Is it waiting list team? Sorry. All of these are out of syllabus questions for me. I don't have the answers to these. Ashish or somebody from the SIH team will have to answer. Do we need to, which project management tools can we use? I don't know what are available to you, but I would recommend, because all of you are going to be in the same place, right? So you just go ahead and do use simple sticky notes and putting it on the paper. That will be the best thing to do for you in the hackathon. So just put it into the sticky notes, whatever stories you have, and take it across the iterations, or simply create columns to do in progress done and move your stickies so you know the progress. Right. I really don't think you need to do any project management tools for the hackathon. It's a small hackathon of a few hours or days. So don't worry about project management tools. I'm not able to understand. Do we need to stage the iteration before coming to the hackathon? What do you mean by stage the iteration? Sagar, can you please clarify the question? I'll wait for Sagar to clarify that question. Any other, Ashish, you can also tell them if they are going to be using any project management tools. But if you ask me, I think they don't have to use any tools. the project management tools, right? They can simply just use paper and sticky notes. I mean, we would love to use it even in our real life in the industry, but it is not possible because of the distributed teams and so on. But if you do it, then the things we do in one change. Okay, I think what you are asking is, do you decide what you will do in each of the iteration? I think that's what you are basically asking. Yeah, you can come up with a plan. You can come up with a plan. You can think of, maybe you will do 3 iterations of 12 hours each, and you come up with, this is what we will achieve in the first iteration, this is what we will achieve in the second, and this is what we will do in the third iteration. Yes. However, please keep in mind that you may not probably be able to follow the plan, right? Depending upon what you are able to complete in your first sprint, you will take a call on what you will take up in the second sprint. And if you discover some new things when you are actually building it, right? Some APIs are not giving you the right things and you may have to change the approach and all, you should be able to do it. But having a plan helps because it will give you some direction. Though it's okay even if you have to change the direction based on the feedback or things that evolve, during the hackathon. But yes, you can definitely come with a plan, and then uh, depending upon what you discover during the hackathon, you change your plan. Okay. I don't know about this, Ashish. You will have to answer all these questions. Somebody is asking that video of the progress of building prototype has been submitted. Can we resume it from there, or we have to start all fresh? I don't know if they are allowed to resume from whatever they have submitted, or they have to do everything from fresh. I don't know this answer. Ashish, if you can answer that.
Yeah, candidates, if you have some technical doubts, then you may ask here. Otherwise, whatever your doubts regarding to the SIH, so just mail us, whatever your queries.
Okay, so students, please email if you have any questions specific to SIH, whether you can use your previously built solution, or whether, okay, he has shared the email address also. Ashish has shared, so you will have to send an email to them. But if you have any questions with respect to whatever I spoke about, Agile, Scrum, or planning, or retro, what happens during what and all, I will explain here. Okay. Any other questions, team? Okay. Ashish, I think no other questions. So I'm done from my side. If nothing else, then we can log off.
Yeah, sure. So thank you everyone for your active participation, and a special thank to our trainer, Ms. Yashashri Bharviji, for sharing valuable knowledge and guidance and made this session wonderful. We wish all SIS 2025 participants the very best for your journey and innovations. So we are closing the session now. Have a great day ahead. Thank you once
Thank you.
again.
Thank you,
Okay.
Smart India Hackathon team. Thank you. All the best to all the students. Do well. Come up with some great products. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.